we're here today with Cody Loveland, the fabricator of the beautiful Enviate Hypercar, and he's going to run us through a few of the mechanical features on it. So, hi Cody.
How you doing?
Do a quick briefing on the overall car design and stuff like that?
Well, the main focus of the car has been aero, so we've had to design the car to hold a tremendous amount of aerodynamic load. You had just kind of touched on the rear wing supports. They're made out of titanium wrapped in carbon, so they're a titanium forward carbon fiber riser. They're not quite as laterally strong as if I would have done, say, ½ inch of just raw carbon fiber, but with a couple simple braces, they're extremely strong vertically. We had tested a third element wing just to see how it would do. Obviously made a lot of downforce. It bottomed the car, was dragging the car.
Were there balance issues from it, or?
Oh yeah, I was lifting the front end hard. Sebastian Lamore, he was not happy with me. He said, "You're wasting time." I'm like, we just got to know. I wanted to build it so we had it in case we needed it. Obviously we don't now, but that's okay.
Yeah, so the chassis construction is all steel space frame, is it?
Yeah, the chassis is just chrome alloy. So, yeah, it's 1 3/8 chrome alloy, some 1 1/4 depending on where it's needed. It's a modular design, so you've got fully welded front cockpit, safety cell, if you will, where the driver sits. It unbolts at the firewall. There's a subframe underneath that the engine sits on. And then there's a third section, which there's essentially a transmission case, transmission housing that bolts to the transmission and the engine and the front subframe pieces. So it's a stress member design. I just kind of built it and it works great. So
yeah,
clutch changes take about 20 minutes.
Oh wow, that's really good. It takes me about 4 hours to drop a gearbox in my race car.
Well, you support the front half of the car with jack stands or whatever. Unbolt the the bell housing, unbolt some of the chassis points. There's like 9 bolts, and leave the wheels on. And you just roll it backwards off the block, and then you move it around, do your thing, and change the clutch. So.
While we're talking powertrain, can you let us know a little bit about the engine, turbo setup, power levels, and perhaps a little bit on those spark issues you've been having a bit earlier in the week?
We're a budget-oriented team. We don't have a big budget, so we needed to get a light engine that made a lot of power, and the LS pretty much wins that universally in the planet. So initially we had a 6-liter iron block, which we made something like 800 horsepower at the wheels on pump gas. And then we ran that for initial testing for about the first year of it. Then we switched out for the aluminum. We ended up going to the 5.3 to reduce the torque because...
Oh, so it's a 5.3, so is that LS1?
It's an LM4.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
so it's not LS
kind
series.
of a truck engine, actually.
Right.
So we just wanted the lightweight aluminum block, which is about 110 pounds lighter than the iron block. So sponsors JE and K1, they filled the block with guts that'll actually hold the power. I don't know where we're at for power because my dyno in my shop would not actually read. It's just spun tire. So we're anticipating north of 1,000 horse right now at the wheels. I don't know where. It doesn't really matter. The car's fast. So.
yeah. It's how powerful is it? Powerful enough.
Powerful enough. Does it spin tire in every gear? Just about. So. So then as far as the spark issues, we've been battling issues all week. It's a new car. This is the hardest we've ever run it. I did a few shakedown tests last spring and just always had issues, had to fix them. But we're actually getting some speed built into it. We went over 170 miles an hour at La Junta last weekend. Ripped half the body apart. I think I saw you talking with Sebastian about the fender arches.
Yeah.
Those are self-clearance, so we're good.
Yeah, self-clearance. Self-clearance bodywork is always a good idea.
As long as it doesn't cut a tire, so. But
while we're talking tires, can we talk a bit about the suspension? I assume AA arm all round, third spring, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we're running a heave spring front and rear. It allows us to run relatively soft corner springs because Pikes Peak is extremely rough. To support these kind of aero loads, we would need to run something like 2,500 pound springs on each corner. I mean, you might as well just bolt the wheels to tubing.
Run solid mount.
So as of right now, I think we're running 800 or 900 pound springs in the rear, 400 or 500 pounds in the front on the corners. I think we're 700 pound heave in the front, and we're like 1,400 pound heave in the rear.
Oh wow, that's so weight distribution must be pretty rearwards then.
Weight distribution and aero balance. The car actually with driver in it, static, is 60/40 weight distribution.
Right, right.
It ended up being more forward than any of us designed.
Right.
Sebastian modeled it to be 70/30. So
Right,
we're actually
right.
a little short on front downforce, but
Okay, right, right. Interesting.
But in any case, so we ended up kind of making up for that handling wise by going a little bit stiffer on the rear than we initially projected. So
Right.
it's worked well. The car is actually very compliant in the rough
yeah,
upper
it
section.
behaves well over the bumps.
Yeah, now it does. We've been chasing suspension issues all week. Tuesday we had the optional practice up at the top, and Paul said the car was just darting. It was all over the place. Wednesday we found that issue on accident. Actually, some of the rear upright bolts were more or less loose. We had to shim them, and it solved it. So, and then the latest change last night we added a lot more caster into it because we're running such a wide tire in the front. They're tram lining, you know. So we've had to basically get a lot of caster in it to where it'll actually return to center, so Paul is comfortable.
Right, right.
Pushing her. So I think that change alone, that was the only major change as of last night, allowed him to just comfortably get the second fastest time on the top section out of anybody here this week.
Yeah, well, it's definitely looking promising. The car looks great out there. It sounds great, and hopefully on Sunday we'll see a race, maybe even first place.
It might happen. I mean, today we were about a second behind Demas. I don't think he was on pace. He was testing something, but everybody else was 10 to 15 seconds behind us. So we jumped the gap. Like, there's always been the 30 to 40 second gap between Demas and everybody else in that run group. We're now with him. So it's going to be interesting. I hope it holds together at the power levels we can make. It's going to make it interesting. I think they've raised their eyebrows at us.
Oh, well, great talking to you, Cody. Best of luck, and I'll see you on the mountain.
All right, thanks.
So just as a post thing on this video, I was just talking to Cody then about transmission options. He's running a G50 and he toned down the engine to drop the torque, and then he was talking about the sort of pricing of his engine.
Yeah.
So would you like to go through that, Cody?
Well, everyone knows the LS engines are cheap. You have to put a dry sump on them, so that's a bit costly. But we bought 2 engines for $800 from a junkyard. So with some sponsor help, we were able to fill them with rotating components that can hold the power. And yeah, so if we end up roasting an engine Sunday, that's half of our fuel cost if you look at it like that. So.
Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. That is so good. Thank you.
Yeah.